Welcome to Bears on Tap, hosted by Quinten Krzysko, Samir Patel, Sonny Verma, and the one and only Ron Luce. Bringing you all the news, analysis, and opinions on the charter franchise, Chicago Bears.
And welcome back to another episode of Bears on Tap. My name is Quinten Krzysko. I am joined by Mr. Ron Luce and Mr. Samir Patel. Starting with Samir, how are you guys doing this fine evening?
Doing great, Q. Itching for some Bears news. We got some little nuggets today from the combine, but it's good to be back on with you guys.
Ron?
It is good to be back on. Little nuggets of news, tidbits, fun coming out of the combine. I feel like we're finally inching closer to like my favorite time of the year because I'm such a sucker for the off season. And like the combine is always like the first official just milestone, I guess, for lack of a better term. We gotten some franchise tag rumors and actual franchise tagging being done. Ian Cunningham making his first move as the head of football operations because he's making the fucking decisions. NFL, give us a goddamn third round picks.
They addressed that today too.
They did. So no, man, it just feels good to be back with you guys. And we got a fun one today. I think Gorillas is all about it here in our comment section. This is a dope idea. I think it is too. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so anyone who, I guess we haven't done this in a few years, so this is really pretty new to any audience who has joined us since, I don't know, 2022, 2023. But we are spinning the wheel of destiny. And I'm going to get this pulled back up here. I had to take it down for a second because something came up on the screen. But basically, we have like 20 different things that could happen this Bears offseason. They're not all likely to happen. Some of them might be as low as 0.01% chance. Some of them as high as, I don't know, maybe 60% chance it might happen. But we are going to spin this wheel, taking turns, and each one of us, when it's our turn and it spins and it tells us what happens, we need to give our instant reaction of how we feel about this thing happening. So I say we just go in the order of that we are on the screen. So we're going to start with Ron, then I'll go, then Samir. And so Ron, my friend, you are first up. Let's see what the wheel he has for you here.
So much pressure.
And we picked these graphics ourselves, so prepare to be impressed. Well, that is very tiny. Oh, there it is.
Mr. Ron Luce, the Bears have just fired Dennis Allen. How do you feel?
Terrible. I think it's stupid. I think there's a lot of people that really overreacted about Dennis Allen's defense being bad last year. It's always really hard to transition when you don't necessarily have all the horses that you need to play that defense, right? I think a lot of people think back to the 2018 Bears and, but Vic Fangio, it was Nagy's first year. He kept Fangio around from the last time. They had a few years to get that defense in order. That first year under Fangio, the defense wasn't that good. They're going to need to get the horses in the building. I think they're going to start to address that this coming offseason. Maybe not so much necessarily in free agency, but absolutely in form of the draft. I think if the Bears were to fire Dennis Allen, I think it would be a grave mistake.
Yeah, I agree. This one was one of the, like I said, there's some on here, they're not going to happen. I don't think this one's going to happen, but there was some talk like late in the season about this being, something that needs to be discussed. And I didn't agree at the time. I don't agree now, but it was a good option to add on to here. But with that being said, I will go ahead and take the next spin.
Let it rip.
See what we get.
Ooh.
All right. This one is, as you can see in the writing there, credit to Danny Meehan. I was chatting with him this afternoon, and we were like, is this going to happen? Like, he threw this out there. I was like, of course this is going to happen. The Bears trade Tyreek Stevenson and a 5th-round pick to the New Orleans Saints for Pete Werner and Brian Brzee. So, and if you're not aware,
We lose Q.
He's coming back.
He always comes back with a vengeance. Then he gets
Coming
mad at
back
his.
with a vengeance.
Then he gets mad at his cable.
yeah, and I'm mad at my cable right now. Well, it goes on Wi-Fi, and like you're plugged in. You don't need the Wi-Fi. Stop switching to Wi-Fi randomly when I start talking. It always waits for me to start talking. But anyways, the Bears trade Tyreek Stevenson, a 5th-round pick, for Pete Werner and Brian Brzee. Pete Werner is like 26 years old, I want to say. Has a few more years on his contract. Like I want to say $6 million a year. And he was Dennis Allen's guy. Like they extended him under Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen drafted him. Brian Brzee is a defensive tackle that Dennis Allen drafted. If they do this, I'm going to understand it. I'm going to be like, okay, I like Pete Werner edition. I think this makes a lot of sense. But, man, I do not enjoy watching Brian Brzee play football.
What additional moves do you think would happen with this? I mean, this Pete Werner, would that – yeah, I guess what additional moves along the linebacking group or the defensive line do you think would happen with acquiring these two players?
Did I cut out there again?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you did a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, did you?
So what additional moves? I don't know. That's tough to say. I'd have to think that they either bring in a rookie or another free agent at linebacker. But like to me, this would be, if they did this would be their first step towards addressing the linebacker and the defensive tackle rooms. Where Brian Brzee, I mean, he was in on something like 9 sacks 2 years ago for Dennis Allen. Like he is effective in that system, but it was just like all those sacks were like 3.5 to 4 second cleanup sacks. And like you didn't watch Brian Brzee and go like, that's a dude. You watched him and went like, oh, okay, that all worked out well. Like
that's fair.
And that's what would be my hesitation. Like, you're not giving up that much here. Like, I like Tyreek, but it also does seem like he's a little out of favor within this defense.
Oh, totally.
I think Pete Werner would be a really nice add. Brian Brzee would be the part where I'm like, I hope we add more still.
I think is that go ahead, Ron.
No, go ahead.
Samir. I was gonna say, is it a foregone conclusion that Tremaine is gone? You know, with or without Pete Werner, I guess, or would that kind of just solidify that? Probably.
I don't know. You know, I kind of thought it would be, but it hasn't happened yet. So like,
it hasn't happened yet.
I don't know. Maybe they think they might be able to trade him. Maybe there's some of that going on where they're gauging people's thoughts at the combine here. But you know, I'm sure we'll find out sooner than later. But yep. Samir, it is your turn to spin the wheel of destiny, and here we go. All right, the Bears have signed Odafe Owe for a 4-year contract at $19 million AAV. So this was like, I think, the PFF contract projection. Mm-hmm. How you feeling, Samir?
I feel okay about it, honestly. I think it kind of fits Poles's, I don't know, what he's kind of done in the past a little bit. He tries to outsmart the room a little bit, and with all the Crosby and the Trey Hendricksons and even the Jalen Phillips, and I know Owe is probably on Phillips's level, but this feels like a Poles type of move. And I think signing this player for this amount, you're not breaking the bank necessarily like you would with the Trey or even a Max, and you're not giving up draft capital like you would with Crosby. You can still take the best player available at 25, and that opens up a Freeling option or, you know, for sure penciling in a defensive tackle. I think it gives you room to play with. So I would celebrate it. I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. Now, I think he typically doesn't play with his hand in the dirt. If I'm not mistaken, maybe you guys know better than I do. So maybe that would be a change from like a scheme fit. But as far as
he's done
age
some
and,
of both,
you know, profile, I think is good. Okay.
Yeah, he's done some of both in Baltimore specifically, but I think that he's generally been more productive stand-up, but I'm not totally sure about that.
Okay.
All right, Ron, we're going back to you, and let's see what the Wheel of Destiny has in store for you.
It's going to give me something I don't want.
The Bears have just traded Rome Odunze for a second-round pick, Ron. Let's call this top half of the second round. How you feel?
Ooh, I don't like that at all. I'll tell you what. I know there's people that are very polarized by Rome Odunze. I am one as well. I'll be completely honest and transparent. I said before the draft when the Bears did take Rome that I wasn't as impressed with his tape as other people were. That being said, he's still a young receiver that needs to be given a fair shake. His first year in the league was obviously in conjunction with Caleb under Waldron and then Thomas Brown and just all over the fucking place. And then in year 2, he missed a large chunk of the season. I think we largely don't really know what Rome Odunze is at the NFL level just yet in terms of his full potential. I have seen some thoughts and opinions, Q. I know we've talked about it on these airwaves as well, about Rome Odunze being included potentially in a Max Crosby deal. I think that's the only way I would maybe be somewhat okay with a Rome Odunze departure at this point in time. For just a second round pick would feel incredibly desperate and kind of stupid. So I would not be in favor of said move.
Okay. I agree. Samir, do you have any thoughts to add on?
No, I totally agree. You don't give up on him yet. Yeah. Second round pick. Please.
Too early. Maybe like two years from now and things aren't clicking and you want to get something for him. Maybe that's a little different, but he's only heading into year 3. I think you gotta at least let him see out that original rookie deal. And then when that option year comes around, that's kind of the decision year, I think, for most first round picks in my humble opinion.
Especially after being on pace for like 1,100 yards and like 12 touchdowns in the first half of this year before the injury. I mean, I
wasn't the same player when he got injured.
I'll be I'm one of the first guys to criticize Rome at times, but like also the dude was pacing some really good stuff early on this year, and then he hurt his foot and it never got there after that. But I think you need to see out what you have there, at least when weighed against a second round pick.
Yeah, especially when he was the 9th overall pick in the NFL draft. Like,
right.
You gotta see that through a little bit more. Now, if he was a second round pick, that's a little different, right? And I think it also depends on how you feel about certain players in the room, whether that's Luther Burden, whether that's DJ Moore. But again, I think just it feels too soon, and that's, in my opinion, not enough if you are going to part ways with Odunze at this point in his career.
Agreed. Okay. Spinning. Let's see what it gives me.
Oh, good one.
Yes, I'm glad you got this one, Q.
The Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears have just done the unfathomable. They have traded Caleb Williams to the New York Jets for 3 first-round picks. And guys, I quit. I'm done. I'm done with the podcast. I'm done blogging. I'm done with Twitter. I'm out of here.
Done with football in general, maybe.
We've waited our whole lives for this moment, and they rip it out like that. There's no amount of draft picks that you could trade Caleb Williams for in my mind right now. Even throwing in players, it would have to be an ungodly amount for me to even consider accepting the fact that this just happened.
I agree.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, this would be a devastating moment for Bears fans. For me as a Bears fan, I shouldn't speak for all Bears fans.
The Bears would not have to worry about whether they move to Arlington Heights or Indiana. I'm pretty sure there would be riots with axes and pitchforks and torches at Palace Hall within minutes of this news breaking.
They're going to need to move all the way to Eastern Indiana, Ron, because they're going to need a new fan base.
I don't even think Eastern Indiana is far enough away, Q, because there's plenty of Bears fans still in the Midwest that could get to them. I think they would have to become the NFL's first franchise to move overseas and get their ass out of the U.S. and into Europe.
I mean, there's those Bajan stands that would come out of the woodworks.
Oh, you're not wrong.
They would.
You are not wrong, Samir. Oh,
Yeah.
my
How
goodness.
much do we think that's a loud minority, though?
I think that is a very loud minority, and they are very loud.
They are.
All right. Well, now that one's out of the way, Samir.
I seem to have gotten the only normal one so far.
All right. The Bears just re-signed Jaquan Brisker to a 3-year, $30 million contract.
Okay, so I think I've been on record on this podcast and other platforms saying I think it's time to go. Like, I thank Kwani for his effort. I love his attitude. You know, he's one of those good locker room guys. I think that players benefit from being around him. I just think that we talked about it a couple times. Is he the best fit for what DA is trying to do? He was definitely available this season, so I don't want to knock him for that. Now, he's had some concussion issues in the past. $10 million a year. You're not really breaking the bank on a safety, but I feel like you're getting up there. There's probably players that you can get. There's some good free agents on the market that you can try to get. Like Cam Curl's been talked about. And I think even the other safety from the Rams is also a free agent. I'd like to see those funds maybe move to Byard if you're going to prioritize one of the two. So I wouldn't hate it. I would just be a little, okay, this is what we're spending we're already over the cap. This is what we're spending our cap money on. I'd feel a little deflated.
I feel like Jaquan Brisker would have been the perfect complement to like Eddie Jackson in those 2018-19 Bears, right? Where like kind of the Adrian Amos role, and then they tried with Clinton Dix, and everybody's like, Clinton Dix isn't a box safety, and that forced Eddie to become the box safety. Like it felt like the Bears needed Jaquan Brisker 7 years before Jaquan Brisker. You know what I mean? And then now, to your point, Samir, kind of the schematic fit. But I mean, he's going to get paid by somebody. I think, Samir, I believe you were the one that I think pitched this.
Yes, I did.
For the wheel. I think your contract number's spot on. I think there's somebody in the NFL that's going to give Jaquan Brisker that money.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I think Byard's going to get more than this on an AAV, like more than $10 million a year. So like,
really.
Yeah, I think
a shorter deal.
He's just like what, like the NFL in picks this year. Like I think someone's gonna give him on a short deal, like 1 to 2 year deal. But like
he's durable.
I think that he is gonna garner a decent market here, unless he takes a home like a discount to stay with the Bears.
I was gonna say, like, if the Bears turn around and offered him like 1 year, $10 million with like an option for year 2 type thing, or just a 2 year deal for maybe $20 million, maybe it's 2/3 of this Brisker contract, like. I feel like he would be willing to do that at this point in his career to stay with the Bears. Am I crazy for saying that, or do you think somebody's going to try to swoop in and maybe give him 12 to 15 a year for 2 years?
I think there is a interesting. I think bad teams would, but like I don't think he's going to a bad team because he wants a ring,
right?
But there's a guy who drafted him, who just coached a team to the Super Bowl. That is losing some safeties. And that guy is Mike Vrabel of the Patriots. And I'm curious whether Vrabel might be going after him hard and whether that he played in Vrabel's defense for a decade.
Yeah.
Like that is a tough decision for him.
Some good dots you just connected there, Q.
Yeah, that's my thought here at least.
Right.
But
good thought.
We'll go ahead and remove this one. And Ron, we are back to you, sir.
I'm ready. I like how I've gotten all these ones that just are just out of the fucking woodwork.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. Ron, we're into next season. This isn't even off season. The Bears win their first game. Ben Johnson does the good, better, best, verifies that he is going to continue this. This is a Ben Johnson thing going forward. How are you feeling?
I'm going to feel like the Zendaya with the tears in her eyes meme. I'm going to feel like the Wolverine looking at the picture meme. I'm going to love it, Q, because, gentlemen, I don't know about you two. I looked forward to those videos after wins. Like, it was great to experience the win. You experienced the high of the win, and then immediately it was, okay, when's the video coming out? Right? Like, that literally is kind of where Bears fans started to go. I'll tell you what, I think this is a great example. My wife is a very notable football fan. Like, she's very, very educated on the game. She understands it. She knows players. She actually has finished better than me in a few fantasy football leagues that we've played in together. Like, she knows her shit. And like, but I would never call her the like sports fan to us level where we're just like living and breathing it 24/7 because we're sickos. Those videos got her living and breathing it like a Bears sicko. And so, I think it really did kind of bond the fan base because even the casual Bears fan was looking for the good, better, best video, right? Like it brought Bears fans, I think, to a new level of their fandom in some ways, in the sense of it wasn't just the 60 minutes of the game and then the win, and then you talk about it with your coworkers at the water, cooler the next day. It was, all right, in the next 2 hours, I know this video's dropping and I'm ready for it because I'm ready to rip my own shirt off and scream it with the Bears, right? You had little kids saying it. The videos were going viral. Everybody loved it. And I think it was an identity of this Bears team, and it fits what Ben Johnson kind of preaches in that room and preaches in the organization and within the team. If it was anything but good, better, best next year, I would be utterly disappointed. I hope good, better, best lives for a decade and a half, because that means Ben Johnson's been a good enough coach to stay here for forever. The Bears have maybe won a couple of titles, and things are just rocking and rolling, and good, better, best just becomes the unofficial slogan of the city of Chicago. If good, better, best is gone next year, I would be genuinely disappointed.
Now, Ron, take recency bias out of this. What was better, club dub or good, better, best?
I'll tell you what, I think, I don't know if you can compare them apples to apples, Q. And here's why. I think Club Dub was just truly like celebratory, right? It was fun. It was, these guys are just letting loose because they won a football game. Like, that's what you hope for. You know, it got swag surfing playing in every, you know, I don't know if you guys are familiar with, you know, there's going to be a select few of our listeners that hear this and immediately resonates with them. The old Boom Boom Room at 115 Bourbon Street in Marionette Park. Like, swag surfing came on and everybody was locking shoulders and swag surfing together when those Club Dub teams were winning football games. But I think from like you wanting to get fired up and continue to being fired up about a win after the game and just, you know, screaming out and just letting all the emotion and passion and excitement flow through you, good, better, best was better in that sense. So I guess they're kind of two different flavors. You know what I mean? And I think they were both equally great in their own rights and what they represented. But I will, Q, I will unfortunately ignore your recency bias notation there. And I will say that despite how fun that 2018 team and season was, I think the 2025 team was just a hair more fun. And I think for that reason, I would lean good, better, best.
Now, I mean, I agree, but on that last point, I feel like the 2025 team was so much fun, but 2018, I didn't know what I didn't know as much as I do now. So like, I felt like I was just like ignorance is bliss. Like, this is awesome. Like, and now it's like, it's almost not as much fun the more you know, because you're thinking about all the ways this can go wrong, right?
Bingo. I've seen it.
Yeah. But
I'm going to play devil's advocate actually and say, I agree with everything you said, Ron, but I think that's why maybe retire it while it's still cool. Tie it to that first special season because that's where it lived, right? And then maybe like do something else next season or keep that all together as part of like, hey, this 2025 season was special. This is one of the main reasons why it was before it becomes like not cool. You know, keep it on that high ass pedestal. Now maybe it will always be cool because they won, right? And we all look forward to it. But I don't know. I feel like it belongs with that first season.
I think to that point, Samir, though, like I feel like Club Dub became that way too, though, right? Like it was cool in 2018, but by 2021, when everybody was like, fuck this, you know, Club Dub my ass, you know.
We only saw it like 5 times or something. So
that's what I'm saying. So
you know what?
You know, winning cures all ills, right?
You know what pops up in my head? The 2005 Bears, the 2006 Bears. And like they didn't have anything like either of these things, but the 2005 Bears, they didn't have a thing that we knew about. The 2006 Bears, every huddle after every game, they broke down saying world champs. I think that once the Super Bowl expectations come in, stuff might change a little. Stuff might, you know, maybe the and you want to celebrate every win you have in the NFL, right? Like the good, better, best. Like maybe that isn't what's going to hit if you beat a team by 4 scores that you were supposed to beat, you know? Like maybe that's not quite hitting the same way if the Bears do take this next step. Maybe it needs to be retired and moved into something like world champs. We're back to business. This year is about business.
Maybe. I think this discussion, gentlemen, kind of opens a new can of worms in the sense of, I think it will be fascinating to see like what Ben Johnson comes up with. Because I feel like he's a coach though that like this is something that's in the back of his mind. Maybe obviously not at the forefront, right? He's a football sicko. We know he's dialed into the X's and O's, helping make this team better in the offseason, being ready to come out and win football games when we approach August and ultimately into September. But I think he sits around, you know, at this point in the offseason and is kind of like wondering what if, you know what I mean? And like, how do we keep things fresh? And How do you keep guys feeling motivated and coming back? And, and again, there's so much of that, I think, in the sense of the culture within the organization that like fans truly don't know, right? We just got a small little glimpse into the entire package of it. But I wonder, it now becomes something, gentlemen, because of our topic here that I at least will keep an eye on and actively think about, especially as we inch closer to the season. Probably sometime around, early to mid-August.
Well, and I mean, to that point, you don't want to become Gordon Bombay and Mighty Ducks 2 either.
True.
All right.
Good point.
Let's move it on. See what the wheel has for me here.
Oh,
hanging
the
on
big
the
one.
edge.
The big
Okay.
one.
The Chicago Bears have just signed Trey Hendrickson to a 3-year, $90 million contract with $60 million guaranteed.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. And, I have a people aren't going to like this. I cannot get Jared Allen out of my mind.
Oh.
I cannot get the contract that they gave Jared Allen in 2014.
Yeah.
And he came in here. He didn't show signs of regression the year before. He was really good the year before.
Yeah.
Came in, had like some type of illness, lost a bunch of weight, and was never good at football again. Now maybe it's a one-off. It probably is a one-off. But Trey Hendrickson is what, 35, 34? Something
I thought
like
he was
that.
younger than that.
I thought he was only like 32.
31.
Is he? Okay, 32 still.
Okay,
Or 31, he's going to be 32 for next season. But still, this is a guy over 30 coming off an injury who you're about to give $30 million a year. I'm excited about it, don't get me wrong, but I'm more nervous than I like to be about it at the same time, because it's a lot of money, it's a lot of commitment to a guy who, is up there in age, and that is a risk to me here, especially for a guy who doesn't play the run all that well. I reached out to a Bengals content creator who I know the other week and asked him, does he think Trey Hendrickson is worth the price he's going to get? And he's like, yeah, he is. He's not good against the run, but he's not a total liability either. So that eased my concern some, but I'm still I'm not going to be fully excited about it until I see him producing for the Bears.
I wonder how much of Trey not playing last year was him being hurt versus him being making business decisions, being I'm not suiting up for this franchise ever again. I'm 31. I can't risk pulling a calf or doing something like that. We'll just kind of milk this into next year. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder how much so it says, let's see.
How much he kind of just
severe hip. He had a severe hip injury requiring core muscle surgery.
Oh, I've heard that term before.
Yeah, so I wonder
Mm-hmm.
maybe we saw Jalen Johnson play through something he shouldn't have this year.
Yeah.
It was extremely uncomfortable. He wasn't very good anymore because of it, but he still maybe he didn't give that all out to do it, because it's I got to protect myself here, son, which I can't blame him for.
Yeah.
All right, Samir, let's see. I forgot to remove that. Okay. If that one pops back up, we'll spin again, but
all right.
Okay, Samir, the Bears brought back cheerleaders.
All right, bring back the Honey Bears. Look, if they brought him back, I'd be like, oh man, we definitely are going to Hammond, Indiana, aren't we? This feels like a double play. Let's just go to the Horseshoe, man. So I guess those backstory, I think the McCaskies, was it the McCaskies or the Hallis? I can't remember. Kind of got rid of
Virginia was behind it.
Virginia was behind getting rid of the Honey Bears. Obviously, I don't see that happening, but now, rest in peace, Virginia. Things are maybe changing. I think George is still very loyal to what his mother wants. I don't see this happening, but if they brought back the Honey Bears, it would be less about the Honey Bears than it would be about me being like, oh, maybe the Bears are just changing in general. We saw a little bit more cussing out of Ben. We're seeing some things that maybe are uncharacteristic of the ownership group. This would maybe feel like something heading in that direction, which I don't think I would be opposed to. And I'd be like, let's watch the Honey Bears in giant parkas with their pom-poms in late December. It'll be fun. So I think it would signal something bigger for me.
Hey, and there's the superstitions of the curse of the Honey Bears.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't won shit since they got rid of them.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Now we are back to Mr. Luce here. Let's see what we get.
It's gonna be something negative. I can already feel it.
All right. The Bears have traded their second round pick to the Arizona Cardinals for Buda Baker. How are you?
Man, this is fascinating. I'll tell you what, I've seen this kind of thrown around in the world of football here recently, and I'm trying to make sense of it. Admittedly, I'm trying to pull up Mr. Buda Baker's age as well here really quick, because that's a part. Okay, he's 30 years old. So I'll tell you what, Buda Baker's a dog. That guy's really fucking good at football. Has been for a long time. One of the most probably underappreciated safeties, I think, in the league, just because he plays for the Cardinals. I mean, the not amongst necessarily his peers, but I think amongst the national media, I don't think he gets the recognition that he necessarily deserves. I don't know if I love trading the Bears' second round pick, though. I think they have so many needs on defense, and I firmly believe they are going to bring back Kevin Byard. I really do think he's all but guaranteed to return to this safety group. So I sit there and I go, is he really worth a second round pick? I don't know. If it was a third round pick, especially if they get the compensatory picks, it's a no brainer. I think it's a slam dunk. I think it's an absolutely, and you don't even blink twice. In fact, if it was a third round pick and Tyson Bagent, I would do it in a fucking heartbeat. But I think just the second round pick feels rich for me, just a little bit. And again, I'm not against it. I think so. Obviously, Q, you mentioned it at the top of the show, right? It just, what would our instant reaction be with this being the headline? I wouldn't be utterly disappointed. I would just be more curious of like what's next, because that's a lot of draft capital to give up for a 30-year-old safety. Like, it just is, right? But he is an impact player. I think he's the type of guy that would absolutely feast in Dennis Allen's system, especially because how much he asks his DBs to be all-around players, whether it's the blitz, whether it's playing the run, whether it's being a takeaway machine in the deep half. I think Buda Baker would be probably one of the few safeties in the league that would step in and be an immediate upgrade over what the Bears have already had, right? And at least not be parallel with what they've had. I think if this was an actual headline, I wouldn't be tragically against it. I would kind of sit back and go, that's kind of fascinating. But I think if you're asking me, would you make this deal? I don't know if I would. I would be a little hesitant, I think, for a second round pick. Now, again, like I said, if it's a third round pick, yeah, I'm making this deal every day and twice on Sundays. I think that's a no-brainer if it's a third. Especially because, again, the Bears are picking late in the third round. You are going to get, hopefully, that compensatory pick amidst the Ian Cunningham stuff here. If you do, you're essentially saying our first 4 picks in our draft this year are insert first-round player, insert second-round player, Buda Baker, and insert another third-round player. And I think that would be spectacular for the Bears. But a second feels a little rich for Buda Baker. Again, I think if he's 28 years old, I would make this trade.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the magical number of 30 that makes you start to go, feels a little rich for my taste.
I mean, that draft pick could be anything. It could even be Buda Baker.
It could be Buda Baker, yeah. It could be anything. It could even be a boat.
But no, I think that's a very valid point about like 30 years old. That does make this a tougher conversation. And like, when I was making this question, I was like, third round pick is like, no, third round's too easy. Second round pick, like that.
Got to be a second.
That's the way
that makes you think about it a little bit. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, let's see what it chooses for me.
There
The Chicago Bears have just moved to Hammond, Indiana, and I am the person on this podcast who would care the least about this because I live in Philadelphia. So I'd just be like, whatever, like.
It's technically closer to
you guys,
you,
or maybe you guys like it, but yeah, it would be closer to me. I mean, honestly, my stance on this has always kind of been like, if Indiana wants to like give the Bears all this free money, who am I to say they're wrong to take it? Like, you know, I mean, Kevin Warren wants the lakefront, maybe he gets the lakefront. Like, that's been a big talking point the whole time, and it's. From everything I've gathered, I mean, I grew up in the Chicago area. Like, it's not any further from downtown than Arlington Heights would be. Like, there's a train that goes out there, and like there are ways to make this work.
In
the
fact,
biggest
it's
concern,
closer to downtown Q.
Yeah, it's like parts of Hammond, Indiana are like a street light away, like just across the street is the city, right? Yeah. So Hammond, Indiana it's literally right next to the south side of Chicago. But I have a hard time garnering strong feelings. I love the flyovers, but like I'm not going to the stadium. I'm not going to tailgates. I'm watching from home in Philadelphia. So this one is not a big deal to me. I really don't care that much about it.
I will say really quick, I'm going to shamelessly plug something here. I wrote something over at ontapsportsnet.com this past week, just talking about the double standard of this. Because you hear so many outside opinions on this, and everybody's, they're moving the team out of Illinois and out of Chicago, and this is tragic. And then you look around the league and you go, but the San Francisco 49ers play in Santa Clara. The New York Jets and New York Giants play in New Jersey. The Washington Commanders play in Maryland. What am I missing here? It's the same thing. DC butts up against Virginia and Maryland, right? Mm-hmm. Chicago just happens to butt up against Northwest Indiana. It's part of the Chicagoland area. You can tell that the national media is so ignorant and doesn't truly understand the area because they haven't, fully understood it. And the Chiefs are moving to Missouri. I think they're actually moving out of Missouri. I believe. I think they're actually moving to Kansas because Kansas City's in Missouri.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, Kansas City's in both, right?
Well, there's a Kansas City, Kansas, and then there's a Kansas City, Missouri. It's kind of fucking stupid and doesn't make a lot of sense, but I digress. I think this just sits and proves sometimes a metropolitan area borders two states. It happens. What are we gonna call the Minnesota Wild the St. Paul Wild because they play in St. Paul instead of Minneapolis? No, they call them the Minnesota Wild.
The Arlington Cowboys, the New Jersey Giants,
And here's the thing. If the people that are sitting here bitching and moaning about this team leaving Illinois, they don't understand the fact that Arlington Heights is 30 fucking miles from the city. Hammond, Indiana is like 18 miles. It's physically closer to the city of Chicago. I don't understand. And again, if you're a private business owner and a state is literally going to give you the red carpet when the other guys are trying to nickel and dime you for everything, of course you're going to fucking take the better deal. Right? Like, to your point, Q, if Indiana's going to give them what they want, who's to say that they don't take it?
Sounds like Indiana's giving more than they're asking for. Like,
and
they know the challenge they're up against to get it to happen. So like they're going for it.
And I'll tell you what, like I saw the poll stuff that Tony Marchese, our loyal leader here at On Tap Sports, that shared in our Bears room today. And it was like people were like, I'm going to hold a grudge and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And no, they can't use Pride and Joy of Illinois anymore in their song and whatever and blah, 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 blah,
Doesn't
blah.
make it awkward.
You know what? It just feels like the old man yelling at a cloud is really what it feels like. Because at the end of the day, right, Rachel Nichols had a take. That was kind of what spurred my article. And she was like, well, if the Bears move the team to Indiana, sell the team. And she cited tradition. You're going to have the original family of NFL football sell the franchise that their grandfather owned and then bitch about tradition. You can't have your cake and eat fucking too. The double standard is unbelievable. And quite frankly, again, we as Bears fans can have our opinion, but guess what? If you're sicko enough and you're, if they move out of Illinois, I'm not going to go to a game. You're lying through your fucking teeth.
Yeah.
And
nobody's dropping them. Nobody's dropping them.
Nobody is, especially when the team's getting good. If this team was the 2002 or 2003 Bears, sure, maybe. Get out of here. I don't know. It's really been firing me up a lot lately.
It sounds that way.
It's been firing me up lately, man. And I'm glad we had this in here. And Q, I'm almost glad you had it because you're just like, I have no opinion. And I was like, I have one. Because
I have some thoughts from like a public finance standpoint, but like I'm not going to get into that too deeply on here. Right. But like,
I totally get why they would do it. I mean,
I think Indiana has a ton to gain from it, and I don't think Illinois has near the same amount to get.
But I actually don't think it's going to happen until
Illinois.
No, neither do I.
Illinois has less to gain and a lot to lose, whereas Indiana has absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Correct.
Does Illinois have
Yes.
that much to lose though, up against the greater economy that is here
I think
or there?
so. I'm gonna just quickly open a little bit of a can of worms. Is you got to think about it this way: if they build the Arlington Heights property, because that's 326 acres of just empty land that's privately owned. If they open and build a stadium there, right, and the infrastructure is upgraded and what have you, and Arlington Heights works, every business, every major restaurant in the city of Chicago is going to want a satellite location on that piece of land in some way, shape, and form. Every major shopping, every major shop in the city of Chicago is going to want a satellite location. There's going to be residential housing on that location that people are going to want. That's all tax revenue that goes back to the state of Illinois. And it could be a lot of money in the grand scheme of things. And then because you have Arlington Heights, Super Bowls, that's a huge influx of travel at an awkward time of the year. Nobody's coming to Chicago in fucking February compared to the summer, for example. But you have a huge excuse for an entire week of having people in the Chicagoland area spending money that's generating tax revenue for your city and for your state. I think the state of Illinois has something to gain from this. And then again, I think when you look at and again, I don't want to get into politics, so I'm going to keep it level, but J.B. Pritzker's money is in Hyatt, and Hyatt got a ton of tax breaks from, and that's what pays for Soldier Field. It's this whole big awkward and kind of gross loop when you really think about it, of just so the Chicago Bears leave the city of Chicago. So Brandon Johnson and JB Pritzker's resume has your most arguably important sports team in your state left because you just refuse to get something done. And I agree with you guys. I don't think you're off in the sense of I don't think ultimately they do go to Hammond, but I respect the state of Indiana for giving it a
absolutely,
because now they've pressured Illinois to do something about it. Because Illinois is going to sit here and play ho hum and tell you that it's not that important to us or whatever. Yes, it is. They know it is, and they're saying that behind closed doors. Now they're starting to feel the heat a little bit because the state of Indiana has upped that temperature.
I think Illinois is playing a little bit more hardball than they normally would because the Bears just bought this Arlington Heights property with no deal in place. And now they're kind of after owning this land and paying tax on this land, regardless of whether they build a stadium there or not. And so are they going to is this just going to be an empty investment that they've made, and pivot to a different state and have this? I think I retweeted, somebody said it's going to be the largest pickleball facility, in Chicago and in Illinois. So Illinois, the Illinois politicians are probably well, they bought this. They're kind of already halfway in. Let's see what we can get out of them. But I think ultimately they'll get something done. And I think Arlington will still be the spot. I
saw somebody joke that the Bears are going to build a horse racing track on that property. And I started laughing pretty heavily with that one because I thought it was fun. But
there have been some studies about the taxpayer efficacy of stadiums actually making sense for the taxpayers, and those studies tend to call into question the benefit probably isn't really worth the cost. Now, I personally think that just means a lot of those cities got taken for a ride on what they were doing, because I do think that there is a solution that is beneficial for the greater financial status of the state and the Bears, but I don't know if that means it's good for the taxpayers. I think those are different things, personally. Good for the financial aspect of the state doesn't necessarily mean it's benefiting the taxpayers, which I think draws in the biggest question of it. But I do have one final thing to say, and if you're into an Illinois-Indiana rivalry, I think this is great. Having Indiana pay for the pride and joy of Illinois is utterly hysterical.
That's a fantastic point, Q. And I'll tell you what, and this is I'm not going to get too deep into this, I promise, because we have a lot to get to. But I don't know if Scott's numbers are right here in the comments. He says, how much money do the players save playing in Indiana? 2%, $10 million contract saves $200,000 per home game. they technically earn money by game check. I think the only thing that they don't earn technically by game is any signing bonus. So that would be taxed in Illinois. All their game checks would be taxed in Indiana if that's the case. And Indiana has a lower state income tax.
And one of the bigger things here, the state of Illinois is probably losing one of their biggest taxpayers in the Bears.
Yes.
Because all ticket revenue probably goes through the state of Indiana at this point.
Yes, it does.
All sales in the stadium, all of that money is no longer being taxed in Illinois. It's now being taxed in Indiana.
Every single thing that happens on a Bears game day, the tax money goes back to the state of Indiana.
While losing, 50 people making over $1 million a year at the same time.
Yeah, I mean they would still get anything that's a signing bonus. They would be able to tax in Illinois because technically, like, Hallis Hall is still going to be in Lake Forest. That's still technically earned in the state of Illinois. But yeah, all those game checks are taxed in the state that they occur in. So that's 8 or 9 home games every year that are taxed in the state of Indiana rather than being taxed in the state of Illinois.
Which, it's a massive budget. We're talking drops in the bucket still, even when we're talking millions, but like it does all add up.
Yeah. Well, but it adds up to these players too. Like if you're the Bears and you're trying to make an argument of like, well, we would save our players money by playing in the state of Indiana. And maybe that's something that helps appeal ever so slightly to some of those players that are worried about a couple $100,000 here or there.
I bet you it appeals to McCaskey's accountant too.
I bet you it does.
All right, Samir, you are up, my friend.
Let's do it.
The Chicago Bears have signed Cam Robinson, left tackle, to a 1-year deal. How are you feeling?
All right. I'm feeling, hey, did we make a play for Trent Williams? Now, I'm not sure if when we made this wheel, if that was there or not, but let's go with Cam Robinson on a 1-year deal. Look, I don't hate it. Is he like a world beater? No, he's not. Is he Trent Williams? Obviously not. But is he an upgrade over Braxton and Theo? Probably, right? And I think if you are being serious about being a contender, if you didn't feel good about either of your two people that have played left tackle for you and started to not play in a game, and you're going to stick your guard at left tackle and bring in somebody that a lot of casual Bears fans are probably like, who? In McFadden to play guard in the most important game of the year, then I think, yeah, you do need to address that left tackle spot. And I'd be happy that they did. And on a 1-year deal, that would make me feel better about their thoughts on maybe Ozzy's long-term outlook. Maybe they feel like he could be back. I would be happy for that move that they've addressed it.
All right, now change it to Trent Williams.
Oh my God, ecstatic. Are you kidding me? It's the best offensive line in football. You have Trent Williams and Joe Tooney next to each other. Are you kidding me? Like
argument for one of the best O-lines ever.
Yeah.
The O-line shows here at Bears on Tap would be like literal must-watch YouTube if we're breaking down future Hall of Famer Trent Williams, future Hall of Famer Joe Tooney, Drew Dahlman, who's an incredibly good center, Jonah Jackson, who's, I would say, an above-average guard, and Darnell Wright, who's got all-pro upside.
Well, he was second team this year, I think.
Yeah, so you have
Caleb
3 all-pros on that.
3 hours to throw. Yeah, he would just be standing back there, just whatever he wants.
But then
to
we
do,
would.
So.
But then
Samir, we're here for the run game.
We're here. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, we want greased up deaf guy still, at least a little bit.
I guess since Trent's not on the wheel, I want to hear from you guys, O-line buffs. Like, obviously that would be great.
Yes,
but money, right?
Yes.
Does that stop us from getting a defensive line? Does it even matter?
Doesn't matter.
Williams,
you're going to tell the McCaskies to figure it out.
Yeah.
You can if you're willing to spend enough cash, you can figure it out. Just figure it
out.
If you can get
excellent. Yeah.
Get creative. Give it to them all in a signing bonus at that point. It doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
The cap doesn't exist. It's not a real.
The cap doesn't exist.
Oh, do I get this one?
Okay, Rod. The Bears have drafted left tackle Monroe Freeling or any other left tackle that you think is valid at pick number 25.
I was actually hoping for this one. Like as we were talking about Cam Robinson / Trent Williams, I was sitting there going, I kind of hope I get the Monroe Freeling one because I've been kicking this one around in my brain for like 2.5 weeks now.
Ben's gonna love him.
I love Freeling, and selfishly, I'm a little bit of a Georgia Bulldogs fan. I had family that went to UGA, go Dogs. So immediately I was attracted to the idea of like, oh, okay. And then I started to watch his film. I like the player. And it creates a little bit of a dilemma, though, right? Because you did invest a second round pick in Ozzie Trapillo. Like it's not like Ozzie Trapillo. This is not a shot at him. He's had a really nice career to this point. I think he's going to get paid by somebody. But like Braxton Jones was a 5th round pick. It's not like this is a 5th round pick you're trying to replace who just happened to be better than you expected, right? You invested significant draft capital in Ozzie Trapillo. Mm-hmm. But, as good friend of the program, hopefully future guest on the program as well, and co-host of Bare Bones, Mason West said, patellar tendons are nothing to fuck with. And I did a little bit of research actually on this earlier today. There are a handful of offensive linemen in the history of the NFL that have torn a patellar tendon, and it's not a long list because it's not that. Like, this was a freak year seeing 3 offensive linemen tear their patellar tendons because, like, I don't think that's ever really happened before. There's been a couple of guys that literally never have come back the same. One guy retired because of it. It's a serious injury. Like, if something goes wrong in the rehab, and I think Chicago Bulls fans, sorry, Bulls on tap, not trying to throw strays here. Like, I think back to the Lonzo Ball injury. It was, Lonzo's going to be okay. He'll be back in a couple months. And then it took 2 years for him to return to the court. And then the Bulls were never the same. Mm-hmm. I don't think the Bears investing the 25th pick when Ozzie Trapillo was like the 56th pick. I don't think that's a ridiculous thing. I think having Ozzie Trapillo, even if he's 75% of himself as your swing offensive lineman, and he maybe learns a little bit of guard and can kind of play everywhere, I don't think that's a terrible investment. Maybe he eventually replaces Jonah Jackson as a guard, right? Like, I think you have options then, and I think you can never have enough offensive line depth, and maybe that's the offensive lineman in me saying that. But I really think Monroe Freeling, like, this is a name that I think is going to be discussed within that Bears front office group, probably more than people realize. And if that happened, I wouldn't necessarily be upset. I would just hope that because the NFL is the one professional league that has their draft after free agency, that you would see them address, right, some of the other positions of concern, whether that's defensive line, whether that's linebacker. And then that way, I think you feel a little more confident if they go left tackle in the draft. Whereas, let's say they don't address that and then they do go left tackle at 25. But I really don't hate the play. And Scott asks here, he says Monroe or Proctor from Alabama. I think Freeling fits what Ben wants, to your point, Q, right? And I admittedly think Freeling's, like, Proctor's a great athlete, but I think there's still a lot of development that needs to be done there. I think Freeling is the higher floor. And I think that fits kind of what the Bears also want out of a left tackle. Because again, Ben's got one of the most tackle-friendly schemes in all of football, right? They chip a lot. They use a lot of tight ends. I think it's part of the reason Darnell Wright had such an incredible year. Don't get me wrong. I still think Darnell Wright's a stud. You still got to be great to still get the job done. But you're going to get some help from Ben. And I think, man, this one's hard. I'm glad I got this one because I kid you not. This thing has been kicked around in my brain like a soccer ball on the playground over the last 2.5 weeks. Of what if the Bears take Monroe Freeling at 25?
And I end up in this place where, like, you mentioned maybe Ozzie can learn to play guard. Ozzie's 6'8", man. Caleb's
so is Matt Pryor, though.
Quarterback.
So was Matt Pryor.
How much did Caleb throw above Matt Pryor?
Not much.
He didn't throw that direction very much. Monroe Freeling 6'7". I don't think you can play him at guard. He also has an upright kind of stature about his play style. Mm-hmm. Proctor gets interesting with that because Proctor's 6'7", but Proctor plays very low. He plays with a lot of knee bend. So, like, and I do think Proctor is more guard than tackle just because of the foot speed. Sure. Where that could get interesting if you think you can get by with Proctor at left tackle. But, like, I think Freeling is the type of tackle that Ben really wants in his offense. I think that he is like a juiced up version of Ozzie Trapillo in a lot of ways. But my biggest concern there becomes, well, what
do you do with Ozzie?
And that was always the risk with Ozzie to me. It's like, if he can't play tackle, that's all. Like, I don't know that he fits anywhere else.
Does that become, though, something maybe in a few years if Ozzy proves that he's healthy, and the Bears ultimately choose to keep Freeling? Like, do you get
trade
maybe
chip.
a third-round pick and
Yeah,
something else out of a guy like Ozzy Trapillo? And
maybe he can. I mean, there's definitely a possibility, especially if he gets the chance to prove himself.
yeah,
There is there is a massive shortage of offensive tackles in this league. If you have an extra, that's
Ain't
a
that
very
the damn
valuable
truth.
thing to have.
Yes, it is.
I think you'll know a lot about how the Bears feel about Ozzy's injury based on what they do, right? If they sign Cam, I think you're feeling pretty good. If they draft Monroe, I think it's looking real tough for Ozzy. Like, that injury is probably more severe than we all, were hoping it would be.
Right.
Agreed.
Okay. Now I am back up. Let's see what I get here.
Oh boy, here we go.
The Chicago Bears have traded Tyson Bagent for a 4th-round pick. And I'm going to say this to the Cardinals because that's where all the smoke has been. So this is like, what, pick 103 or something? It's like the first
I think it was
pick
103
of day 3. So I'm elated right now at this. I am so excited about the Bears just got the first pick of day 3 because this is a prime position to get a guy who just narrowly fell out of the top 100.
Yep.
So, like, that's a guy who's going to be on a lot of top 100 lists, but just, like, barely, fell through the cracks here. 2, it's an outstanding trade down spot. You get teams paying a premium to trade into this position because at the end of day 2, they went home. They tried to go to sleep. They couldn't sleep because they're thinking about this one player who's still on the board they need to get, and they're going to pay a premium to go get. So, like, I love this being in this position in the draft. So, to me, if you can get that for Tyson Bagent and, you can go sign someone off street, you can go sign Tyrod Taylor, I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly fine with that because I think that he's a guy who can, get you a win here or there. And that's a lot of the argument for Tyson, right? I think those guys do exist on the free agent market for a very similar price point. So, really, I think that you are getting Bagent out of your game a chance to start, which I like for him, but I don't think you're losing a ton of value in doing so, and you're adding a 4th-round pick. So I'm excited about it.
I'm glad you said what you said, Q, regarding Tyrod Taylor, because that was going to be my follow-up question was, okay, let's say the Bears do execute this trade and Tyson Bagent has a legitimate chance to start. And I agree. I would be elated for Tyson Bagent because I like Tyson Bagent as a guy, as a person, as a player. Like, I would love to see him get an opportunity because let's just be completely fucking honest. He's not going to get an opportunity unless Caleb is legitimately injured in the city of Chicago.
Caleb has never missed a practice in the NFL.
Right. So I would love to see that opportunity for Tyson Bagent to go elsewhere and compete and legitimately have a chance to start. So my question was just going to become like, who do you have as that insurance plan then? So I'm glad you kind of worked that into your answer there.
Yeah. All right, Samir, you are up.
Let's do it.
A lot of white spaces.
Oh boy. All right.
The Bears have traded DJ Moore for a 5th-round pick. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling like, okay, I kind of saw this coming. I think this is the guy right on the Bears that everybody's been talking about. What's going to happen with DJ? Oh, this play got screwed up. It's all DJ's fault. Is DJ in the game? Where's his head at? I feel like he's been scapegoated on certain situations in certain games. Dude's a gamer though, man. Like, he puts his body on the line. He's the guy that's reliable when Luther's hurt. Colston's hurt early in the season. Rome is kind of flaky in and out late. It's just, we got DJ. DJ's out there, and DJ will make plays when he's called upon. So I will miss DJ. I think it's inevitable, though. I don't know if the staff is really keen on him as much as they say they are. We heard Poles talk about this morning when he was asked very directly by, I think, Waddle and Sylvie. So I would be like, okay, this was going to happen. I would be relegated to that. Now, I don't love it in a vacuum. I think I need to see something else to feel good about it. Like, okay, we've gotten rid of DJ. That salary is off the books. What are we going to do with that money? Are we going to go get, a premium, a premium defensive end or a defensive tackle? Is that money going to go to a Crosby deal? What are we going to do with that? Because in a vacuum, DJ is a very reliable player on this team, and I think he does some good stuff. So I think needing to see what we do with that dough would make me feel better about DJ leaving the team.
Well said.
Yeah, I agree. You're still you're still accounting for $12 million for a guy to not play for you. But
Yeah.
Feels
all
like
right.
Moneyball. You're paying me $12 million. Oh, I'm not paying you $12 million. The Yankees are paying you $8 million to play against them.
All right, Ron.
Hit me with your best shot. Here we go.
Oh,
The
big
Chicago
boy.
Bears have traded 2 first-round picks for Mr. Max Crosby. How you feeling, Ron?
Immediately, the reaction is, holy shit, Max Crosby's a Bear, right? I think this has the Khalil Mack level breaking news on Twitter back in 2018 feel to it for me. Let me put it this way. I can tell you exactly where I was when I read that Khalil Mack had been traded to the Chicago Bears. I was in my cousin Adam's bedroom sleeping on the floor at the University of Georgia in Athens, Georgia, after a night out where we didn't get to bed till 4 a.m, and then we were tailgating the football game the next day. Waking up to that news at like 8:30 in the morning Eastern time that Khalil Mack had just been traded to the Chicago Bears, and whipping a pillow at my cousin Eric, who is a diehard Bears fan, for him to tell me what the fuck, and then I tell him Max a Bear, and then he completely changes tune. So this is that type of trade where like you would remember where you are when you go, holy shit, Max Crosby's a Bear, right? But then I look at those 2 first-round picks and I go,
Rich.
because you need more than just Max Crosby to make this defense better. Does that make your defense a lot better in year one? Absolutely. Like, let's not get that twisted. But it creates a whole nother domino effect, right? Does then the DJ Moore trade happen because you need to clear cap space off of your books? Does that handcuff you from making other moves to improve this team? What other things then have to go into play? Because you have to fit. I think for year one, it's maybe only like $7 million, I think, because a lot of that money stays with Vegas in year one. But then you're talking $30+ million a year for the next 3 years that now you have to account for. Yes, the league salary cap is increasing. Yes, that deal is going to look better and better by the year as long as he continues to produce. But
Wait. You guys gave 2 first-round picks for me. You guys got to pay me more money.
Right. So, like, there's a lot of expectation then too that's attached to that when that happens. And again, you're losing out on what should be a really strong 2027 draft and a 2026 draft that I know it's not the strongest when it comes to like skill position players, but it's strong in the areas that the Bears need to build in. And I think Q, we talked about this with the guys over at Bare Bones last week. Like, Ben, I think does clearly value draft picks, right? I think there's a lot of value there in terms of Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson being aligned. This feels rich. Maybe if it's a 1, a 2, and a player, or a 1, a 2, and like a 4, and you can kind of stagger the years a little bit, I think it's a lot more stomachable. 2 first-round picks, though, is just, it's rich. And it's and then again, it's a whole nother set of gymnastics that need to happen. So I think again, if I'm seeing this, breaking news, Adam Schefter is reporting that Chicago Bears have traded their 2026 and 2027 first-round picks, maybe it's a 2028 first-round pick, to the Las Vegas Raiders for defensive end Max Crosby, I'm probably going, holy shit, Max Crosby's a Chicago Bear, right? I think we're all doing that. But then I go, 2 first-round picks, that was a lot. And that kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's like it's bittersweet, right? Like it's more than you wanted to give. Like a first and a second, I'm like, yeah, okay, but 2 firsts, I'm like, ooh, that's a tough one. But let's keep going with it. And I am up next here. All right, the Chicago Bears have just announced that the polar whites, the white on white uniforms. I know some people don't like the term polar, so I just need to call it the white on white uniforms because a Chicago Bear is, I think, a brown bear. It's not a polar bear.
It's a
grizzly bear.
Yeah. Grizzly bear. But anyways, the white on white uniforms have just become their standard home uniforms, and I kind of like this. Like, I'd like it more if it was standard away. That's why I made it standard home. because the Bears home jersey is so like such a tradition. You know, it's so authentic. It's like that is the jersey that you think of for the Chicago Bears through and through. So this change would be, I don't know, it'd be interesting. I wouldn't hate it, but I'd be like, why? You know, like it would almost be kind of like I think Samir said this, like stuff is just changing with the Bears. And maybe that's a good thing, but like this one, I like their standard home jerseys so much that like I would be skeptical despite really liking the white on white look.
Mm-hmm. If it replaced the oranges, I'd be happy.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. I still want them to bring back the Monsters of the Midway ones, like the big orange, like numbers and the like the dark
all
navy
blue
with the
helmet.
big orange. Yeah, I love that. But let's move it along. We are back to Samir here.
Let's do it. Oh man.
Oh boy.
The Chicago Bears have traded Cole Kmet for a 4th round pick. How are you feeling?
Not great. Not great. I'm a Kmet fan. Look, I know Colston Loveland, he's all the news, all the rage, 140 yards in his first playoff game or whatever it was. Let's not forget Mr. Dirty Work over there, you know, catching 47-yard goal-to-go situation balls from Caleb Williams and, you know, doing everything that needs to be done. I wouldn't understand it because the way Ben likes to play is that 12 personnel. McVay runs a 13 personnel. I think the league seems like it's going to be going in that direction as well. I just don't know why you'd get rid of a good player on a decent salary. I know that the salary looks a little weird now because of the role that he's in, but that offense was humming. I wouldn't mess with it if I didn't have to. And a 4th for a player that brings that kind of value, you know, from a locker room standpoint and just, you know, veteran being here and the personnel that Ben likes to run would be confusing for me. I feel like that would be a little mixed messaging on what this team's trying to do.
Yeah. Well said. You're also not finding a Cole Kmet in the 4th round.
Especially like, what is he, 26 years old? And like, you can extend his deal out to make it a little more palatable too. So like, I'd be confused by it as well. All right, Ron, we are back to you. And the Chicago Bears have just cut DeAndre Swift and swiftly signed Kenneth Walker to a 4-year deal at a $13 million per year average. How are you feeling?
Oh, I liked your play on words there, Q. It gave me a small smirk and a smile. You know, I actually would not be all that happy about this. I don't think paying nearly double what DeAndre Swift is worth this season when you've already got enough cap issues and a lot of other positions to fill is a good investment. I think you can get another year out of DeAndre Swift at the $7.5 million or whatever it is that he's making for this coming season and feel good about that. Kenneth Walker, let's not forget. I know recency bias states that, you know, he just had a dominant Super Bowl and a really good playoff run because they were without without Charbonnet for course of the playoffs in Seattle. And, you know, he's the sexy name because he's just, you know, taking the Super Bowl MVP home and, you know, he's going to Disneyland with Sam Darnold and things are looking all fine and dandy. Let's not fucking forget that this guy, like, they took him. Charbonnet got drafted in the 2nd round. Everybody's, there's the replacement for Kenneth Walker, right? You know, this guy can't stay on the field. He's injured all the time. Recency bias might make the Kenneth Walker name look sexy, but over the last handful of years, there's been a lot of naysayers about Kenneth Walker. And I think paying a running back with durability issue double what DeAndre Swift's making this coming season, who was spectacular for you over the last 2 years even. I mean, I know everybody poo-pooed that the 2024 Bears in the Waldron year. DeAndre Swift had a great season, all things considered, in that offense. So I think I would be genuinely pissed off. Not even just upset. I would be pissed off if I watched this alert come across my phone.
Ron, I adore Kenneth Walker. I love watching Kenneth Walker play football. He has some of the most incredible plays I've like ever seen, where it's just like, how the hell did he just do this insane, like full field cut back, like from sideline to other sideline while making 3 guys miss and breaking a tackle? I wouldn't be happy with this move.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make a lot of sense.
I think Swift and Monangai complement each other in a way that Walker and Monangai would not. I think you lose that pass catching ability out of the
Right.
backfield. You have Monangai. Why do you need Kenneth Walker? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I know obviously Walker's better at this stage in his career than Monangai, but
Sure.
you got a guy like that, you know?
Yeah.
No,
Foster
and
that.
I think that's a great stance on it, Samir. I really do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good stuff, Ron.
Let's see what I get here. And we've already done this one. I just forgot to remove it. So I will spin again. Hopefully I don't get the other one we forgot to remove. All right. The Bears have just restructured DJ Moore's contract, kicking the can down the road and saying, you know what? This contract amount, that is a problem for 2 years, 3 years from now. We're going to figure that out later because we need to win now. And we want DJ Moore on our football team. And I would say, nah. Like, I kind of get it. If all you're getting is a 5th round pick and you feel like you need that wide receiver 3, I do have a question of, you know, you're paying your tight end 2 quite a bit of money and your wide receiver 3 quite a bit of money. So assuming that he's your 3, maybe he's not your 3 at this point. But then, you know, either the guy you picked 9 overall, or the guy you picked in the top, at number 42 or whatever it was, 39.
Mm-hmm.
One of those 2 guys aren't getting on the field enough. Then, like, basically, you have too much talent to get on the field, and I think that is sapping at your defense because your money is disproportionate for your team in my mind at this point.
Yeah.
So that's my concern with it. That's my, you know, it's not going to get easier to deal with that money after you pay Caleb. It's only going to get harder. And you're just going to have to keep pushing it down the road. And, you know, DJ Moore might end up here for another decade because of it. Look at the Saints. That's what the Saints kept doing with guys, you know, is kick that can. Oh, next thing you know, DeMario Davis and Cam Jordan are 40 years old and still getting paid pretty decent. Like, it's a tough position to be in. I wouldn't love it. I wouldn't love it. I'd understand a little, but I wouldn't like it.
Q, can I open just a small can of worms here? I know we're winding down, but let's say the Bears were to trade Rome Odunze in a 1st round pick for Max Crosby. Do you feel a little bit better about restructuring DJ Moore, knowing he's your number 2 receiver entering the season?
Yeah, I feel better about it. I still just don't love kicking the can with him. You know, he's got 3 more years under contract. He's 29 right now.
So, yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Because if I'm kicking that can down the road, that means I'm going to give him another contract. And do I want to be paying this guy at 32 years old? Like, I don't know that I do. So that's where it gets tough. Like, I'd rather restructure a Montez Sweat because I trust that he will age more gracefully because of his play style and his physical stature, the way that he plays and the way he uses his length. I trust him to be a more valuable asset into his 30s than I do most wide receivers.
Sure.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right. Now we are back on to Samir.
All right.
3 options left. Oh, it's a spicy one. The Bears have just traded Jalen Johnson for a 3rd round pick, and they turned around and signed Tariq Woolen, Super Bowl champion Tariq Woolen, to a 3-year deal at an average salary of $15 million a year. Samir, how are you feeling?
I need time to digest this, I think, just to be like, okay, there's a lot happening here on the surface level. And then even maybe the more I think about it, I'd be like, I don't know if I like this. I like Jalen Johnson, maybe more than most. I think you put it nicely, Q, is like a 26-year-old cornerback that's a couple seasons removed from an all-pro season, or maybe even, you know, 1 season removed for an all-pro season. They're hard to find. And maybe Woolen can be that guy, and you get a 3rd round pick. I don't know. I think I would probably be like, I probably would have just rather kept Jalen Johnson. And because I know Jalen Johnson, I know he had a down year, the core muscle injury, all that. But I just feel like, man, when that guy is healthy and on his game, he takes away an entire side of the field, and he's a game changer. And I think he can be that for Dennis Allen too. So I don't know if I would love it. The more I think about it, I'd be like, I don't know if I like this. I don't know. It's kind of
fun fact. Tariq Woolen is only 1 year younger than Jalen Johnson.
Wild.
Interesting.
It's easy to forget that Jalen's only 27.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Jalen's young.
I wouldn't like it. Now, the more I think about it, I'd rather stay JJ.
I will say I do question how gracefully his skill set ages.
Mm.
Being a guy who's never really had the elite speed, so like, will losing a step at some point heavily cost him, or will he be able to figure it out with, you know, a more crafty play style, or will he be more scheme specific at that point?
Yeah.
I do have some of those questions with him, but I think you have another year or two before you're really worried about that. Hopefully, as long as the injuries stay back.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Ron, you only got one left, really, because one of these.
We did this one, right?
Yep, we already did this one. I just forgot to click that little remove button. All right, Ron, we're spinning it even though it's only one. It looks like a CD in the 90s. The Chicago Bears have just drafted a running back. Pick it. It doesn't matter which running back. You're looking at running backs. Pick your guy at pick 25. First round running back. Ben Johnson has done this before. How are you feeling?
I'll tell you what, quickly, a shout out to Guilty in the comments.
Love Guilty.
Good friend. How are
Shout
you?
out Guilty.
Man, I'll tell you what. There's only one running back in this draft that I could justify taking in the first round, and he's not making it out of the first 12 picks, and that's Jeremiah Love. I would hate this. Genuinely hate this. Now, again, if you've cut DeAndre Swift and you've addressed other positions and you use that money to beef up your defense and you plan on taking a linebacker in the second round, and maybe you got a draft pick from a crazy trade and you can add some depth at other positions, maybe you're okay with this. But I would also be, I think I would have been more okay with this if this was last season, right? Where maybe, just maybe, you'd be hoping a player like Amarian Hampton slips to 25. Then that's a little different. There isn't that like next elite running back in this draft, in my opinion. Like, it's Jeremiah Love, probably Jadarian Price, if I'm being brutally honest.
So I was about to ask, where do you think Jadarian Price is going to go?
I think Jadarian Price is a second round pick. I don't think he's a first round pick. I'd be shocked if he goes in the first round. I'll say it right now.
So you think he's like mid second round?
I think he's like, yeah, I think he's probably somewhere between, I'll call it pick 44 and pick 56. Okay. I think is where Jadarian Price goes. And you can even put me on record. So when he does go in that range, I look smart. I don't like this. I think you can get what you want out of DeAndre Swift for one more season and let him walk next year and completely lose all that money and not even keep dead money on your cap and find somebody else to pair with Monangai, whether that's a rookie, whether that's a veteran, whether that's whatever situation you want to create in your head. This is not the draft to take a running back in the first round, especially at pick 25. Again, maybe the Bears were picking like 11 or 12, where I think a lot of people thought they were going to pick before the season, right? After the draft, everybody's sitting there going, Jeremiah Love would look really nice in Ben Johnson's offense. I think that would change the narrative. But knowing that Love's not going to be there at 25, if the Bears took a running back at pick 25, gentlemen, I think you said a little bit earlier with the Caleb Williams stuff. I would say, oh no, here we go again. Time's a flat circle. The Bears found a way to suck again. No matter who's here, the franchise is cursed. The blue and orange reeks of filth and disgust. And I might slightly fall out of love with football if this were to happen. So I'm thankful that this probably has a 0.01% chance of happening. Because man, this is not the year that I would be happy to see.
What if it was Love? What if somehow Love fell to 25? Would that make you feel a little bit better?
It would definitely make me feel a little bit better, but I would still kind of sit back and go, you have a lot bigger needs than running back right now. And that's just kind of how I think feel about it in the long term. Is just the defense, I think, needs more depth and more help. And again, this is a draft where interior D-line, which is arguably one of your top two issues on this team, has a lot of depth and talent that is going to be there at 25, in my humble opinion, or should be there at 25. So even if Jeremiah Love was to slip, I admittedly, Q and I think are on the same page here. I don't think I love Jeremiah Love as many people do. I think there's elements to his game that I wish were a little better. I wouldn't put him up there with like a Saquon or Bijan. Some of the like top running backs that have gone. He's kind of like that next tier in my
physically opinion. I think he's right there with Saquon, but just like I don't think he plays as clean a game as Saquon did.
I agree. I think my biggest thing that I've noticed is his vision. I think his vision's fine. I don't think it's elite. He's just so freakishly athletic that like it covers up for a lot of those vision problems, in my opinion. But I think it would make me feel a little better, Samir, to
Okay.
directly answer your question. If it is Jeremiah Love, I think it's the one running back I would justify the Bears taking in the first round this year. And I would be, do I do it? Yeah, it's 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night. I'm going to do it. I would be willing to leverage some of the really stupid shit that Ron Luce has done, levels of like the Mankini back in the day, like a Malort sprint around my parents' neighborhood, which is about a half a mile around type thing. If Jeremiah Love were to fall to 25 and the Bears were to take him. So I'll just put that out into the universe. If the universe wants to spit in my face, so be it. If they don't, I'd be happy about that too.
Ron, I wouldn't be as upset as it sounds like you would be if it was a running back, even not a Jeremiah Love one, just because I'd be like, I gotta trust Ben. Like I'd be like, I don't believe in this. I don't agree with it, but you know what? I just trust that guy. So like, I think there'd be some element there, but
I think because I trust Ben, I know this wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
At least in this year's draft. Again, if this is a deeper running back draft like we saw a year ago, maybe. Right?
Yeah.
Like I think maybe we do see that. I think there would have been a world where like a Quinshawn Judkins or a Travion Henderson or even maybe somebody like that would have snuck into the first round if the Bears were this far back in the draft order, where they could have taken one of those guys, or even an Omarion Hampton potentially being available. This year it's not the same level of running back crop in my opinion.
Well, it's fitting that this is where we end the show though, because we will have an episode just like this before the draft where we have draft picks names and draft slots, and the Bears draft this guy at 25. They draft this guy at whatever their second round pick, like 51 or whatever it is. I think that's going to be a really fun episode too. We've done that one like that in the past, Ron, and that was a lot of fun. So we're looking forward to bringing you guys that. And we're looking forward to starting next week. We're going to be doing the building the board episodes. Next week, we start with the offensive line episode and the wide receiver episode. So it'll be a lot of fun. Make sure you're checking that out. And gentlemen, why don't we get out of here with a good old bear down, and we will close this thing out.
Bear down, baby.
Bear down. This was a lot of fun.
All right. Bear down. Thanks for watching, guys.